Starting live video. Okay, Facebook Live land. What's up? It's Lisa, the love coach. Lisa Concepcion. I don't know if you're catching this because you're friends with me, or maybe you follow me. But I'm doing a Facebook Live today about the inner child. And I'll share my own personal story, some anecdotes from clients that I have worked with using inner child work. Amazing modality. One of many, many ways that we connect and heal the broken parts of us, and also tap into the great part of us, our greatness, our creativity, the parts of us that we're told to shut up, stop crying before I give you a reason to cry. Why are you spinning? Why are you running around and spinning constantly? Stop spinning. Like when we were told that, our little inner child went like this, right? We were like, 4 years old, and we're like dancing in the middle of the store. And your father, your mom is like, stop it. What are you doing? What is wrong with you? Stop. Stand in line. Can't you stay still? Stay still. And you were like, whoa, like, all right, Ma, relax. I'm just being my little 5-year-old self, feeling my body. And you were made to feel wrong. You were made to feel like, oh my God, that's not allowed. I'm in trouble. I am bad. I am shamed. I'm not supposed to behave like this when I'm out in public. I'm 5. I'm bored. I'm at the bank. I'm online at the bank. I'm 5. It's boring. I want to dance. And you're like, stay still. Your parent says to you, what's wrong with you? Or let's say you're 4 years old and you're at the shopping center and you have to pee and you're 4 and your little bladder and you're doing the pee-pee dance. Oh my God, Ma, I have to pee. Somebody take me to the bathroom. Have to pee really bad. But your mom's, shoes more important than taking you to pee. And then in the middle of the store, you have this accident. You pee yourself. And you're crying, and you're in shame, and you're embarrassed, and it's awful. So when these things happen, these traumas, I'll give you another example. I have tons. Little boy starting to ride a bike. Big deal. Huge big deal. All summer long. Gonna learn how to ride my bike. Training wheels are coming off. Look at me. Gets on bike. Doesn't. The parents don't support the bike. Yells at the kid. Isn't nurturing, isn't like, come on, do it again, you got it. Or, puts elbow pads, knee pads, and it's like, listen, you're gonna fall your little ass off, but I got you. We're gonna pick you back up and you're gonna keep pedaling. And I got you all these elbow pads and knee pads and you're all poofy, but you're gonna be safe and you're gonna try it, and I got the back of it, and then we're gonna have a blast doing this. Nothing to fear. I got you. Let's ride a bike. If you didn't have that, but instead, perhaps even your parents neglected to even teach you to ride the bike, and all your friends are, 8 years old. Hi, Debbie. Grateful to see you on the live. So like if you're that age and all your friends already learned how to ride a bike, like you missed out on something. You're like, okay, at the beginning of the summer, everybody had training wheels, and now it's the middle of the summer. Something happened in the last 4 weeks. Everyone has no training wheels except me. And you're like, what is wrong with my family? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. That's the whole message that it tells you, right? These little things, these little instances of neglect, of not enoughness, of not being paid enough attention to, of not having needs met, right? So inner child gets split. So in order for us to continue living, we can't, be all wadded up about the bike. Like, okay, they didn't teach me how to ride a bike, or they yelled at me when I was dancing in the bank, or whatever. You can't continue to wallow in that trauma of being yelled at in public, or in that, whatever that thing was that made you feel like, ooh, that hurt my feelings. Like, you don't even know what that is. But you have to move on to the next thing. So what happens is, to survive, mentally, we split off. That little trauma that happens goes like, imagine a bubble, little trauma bubble, and it goes somewhere back here in your mind, forever to be saved, stashed away. Almost think of it like, your desktop on your computer. So you're working, and you do a screenshot, and then you bring it to the desktop, or you save something to the desktop, and then all of a sudden, at, 25, 35, 45, some shit goes down in your life, and you have a cluttered desktop of traumas that you didn't really heal. And because you have a cluttered desktop of a bunch of different traumas that you didn't heal, you're going to attract people in your life to poke at you just the right way to make sure you heal those traumas. And sometimes those people can be very toxic. So in my coaching practice, I have been hanging out a lot with different people who are heading up different groups having to do with different types of traumas, one being narcissistic abuse. So this word is thrown around a lot these days. It's narcissistic abuse, narcissistic traits, people with narcissistic traits. So the way that I understand it and explain it based on the studies that I've done about the topic of narcissism and narcissistic traits and narcissistic abuse and all of this is that there is something called narcissistic personality disorder. It's a full-on thing, NPD. Now, it's like up there with bipolar and like that type of spectrum. However, it is very, very hard to diagnose. Really, really hard for people to be diagnosed with it because typically full-blown narcissistic people with NPD, full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, they don't seek help because they don't think anything's wrong with them. They think it's all the outside people, right? So when we mix up with these people, right, and we are codependents, because our little inner child is looking for love me, hi, here I am, I was told that I was bad and I shouldn't cry and like I was a good kid, but like I never got credit for shit, and now I'm 40 and hi, can you love me? I just got divorced, like no one loves me ever. Nobody, they try to, but they don't know how to, and I don't know how to tell them to, and mess. So you're ripe for the picking of a person with narcissistic traits. So when I say narcissistic traits, I'm referring to people who might not have full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, but they are definitely on the level of narcissism. And now what do we mean by narcissism? Many, many different traits. Typically the big ones are lack of empathy. These are people who, it's like Christian Bale in American Psycho. He was a narcissistic sociopath. Yeah. So it's that. Everyone is on your chess game of life. You have this chess game of life, and if you're a narcissistic person on that level where it's dysfunctional and whatever, because we all have healthy narcissism in us, but this is how I'm doing this video, is that I have to believe that I'm okay on camera and I can go and talk to you people, right? So that's like a healthy form of it, of narcissism, whatever, we all have it. However, when it's in a toxic way, people will manipulate other people on their chessboard of life, and they will triangulate, and they'll gaslight. They'll be like, I never said that. And you're like, I was standing right there. You said this. And they're like, no, I didn't. And you're like, am I going crazy? And they make you crazy. Certain things. I mean, so many more traits, but you get the deal. The key thing, though, is how do we protect ourselves? And this is where I'll launch into my story. So in 2015, after I knew I was getting divorced, and by after, I mean like within 72 hours, I was devastated. I was in the lowest of low, awful, 17-year marriage, just kapooey and awful. After years of trying to figure out, are we going to reconcile? How can we fix this? Just sad, awful. I made the quintessential codependent mistake of looking for love outside of me, looking for soothing outside of me in the form of a narcissistic sociopath. I did not know this person was a narcissistic sociopath at the time. I just thought he was incredibly nice to me and buying me a bunch of stuff and taking me to dinners and seeing me every day and calling me his soulmate and telling me that I was his angel that dropped from the sky at the perfect time in his life, and that I don't deserve to be in pain, and everything is going to be awesome, and we found each other for a reason. And this type of thing is called love bombing. It's a premature, all in, like, instant relationship where the person is seeing you every day, buying extravagant gifts, taking you on vacations, really coming at you super hardcore, heavy hardcore. It doesn't even necessarily have to manifest in financial stuff, but it definitely manifests in a way that they come at you where you literally feel like they just took your empty cup and they filled it, which I'm taking a sip, so bear with me. I'm doing this whole gym thing, and like I was so dehydrated, they told me I need to drink a lot of water. So here I am drinking water. Okay, so it makes you feel literally like, I'm thirsty, I'm so thirsty for love, I'm so thirsty, and then and it's like a quench, a feeling of a feeling of I'm alive, I'm whole, I matter, my pain is gone. And the brain chemicals kick in and you're just like, yeah, this is awesome. I need not worry about anything. And you're not really like in your right mind. So this is why when people are codependent, which most people these days are, it is best for them to not date anybody for at least 3 months, at least, in between relationships. And I'm not talking about like, you know, some bullshit relationship that like you dated some dude or some chick for 6 weeks and it was like, yeah, it's not a fit and whatever. I'm talking about like anything over 90 days. Like if you're in a relationship for like over 3 months and there's some like mental fuckery going on, it could bang you out so bad. And that's what happened to me. This relationship was only 5 months long. It felt like 5 years. It was so volatile. I was so entrenched in this guy's drama. And I literally felt like I was walking on eggshells, like, oh my God, is he going to have a healthy day today? Or is he going to swirl out and start doing the chess piece thing about his ex-girlfriend and all his stuff and his past and bringing it all up and making it like my issue? So that was how I lived for like 5 months. And finally, he did what is a technique, or not a technique, a behavior by the narcissist, which is called discarding. So when they use you and other people as their chess pieces in their manipulative game, when they no longer need you anymore, they discard you. And they can do it very abruptly, very harshly, very like their words that they use. It's almost like it's not even them. No empathy, no soul. Just like a letter that you would get from, you know, your electric company that says effective next week, you're not going to have power because we're fixing something 3 blocks away. And you're just like, oh, like very matter of fact. And it's jarring and painful and awful. And people who have gone through this and the ones that I coach now, I mean, I get where they're at because I was there too. And some of these people last in these relationships for years and years and years. They could be married to a narcissistic person. They could be, you know, entrenched in their relationship where they're the other woman or the side piece or whatever you want to call it, where they're holding on to these little crumbs of hope and they're believing because they so desperately cannot cultivate love for themselves inside. Now, here's where the inner child comes into play and why it is so important for us to do this work, this beautiful work. So I'm going to begin by showing you back in 2015 when I hit the wall, sunk down into the shit pit, and, you know, had PTSD and lost 13 pounds in 2 weeks and couldn't eat, had issues with sleeping, circles under my eyes, like banged up. This was one of the many things that saved me, that I went all in with. I invested a ton of money on a bunch of different people, courses, coaches, therapy, acupuncture, crystals. My God. I went at it. I was like, okay, let's rebuild Lisa. We can rebuild her faster, stronger. Da-na-na-na. So this was one of the books, the many books that I read at the time. I don't know if it's flipped backwards, but it's called Inner Bonding, and it's by Dr. Margaret Paul. And I also did a workshop with Dr. Margaret Paul and studied the inner bonding process. And it's something now that I did to myself, continue to do to myself, and help other people by teaching them how to do it too. So if you want information on that, you can go to LoveQuestCoaching.com, which is my website. And in the corner, you're going to see a button that says Free Guides. When you click Free Guides, there are various audio guides. One that I created is called No Bullshit Guide to Self-Love. And it's based on my journey with this book. And it breaks out the 5-step process of inner bonding. This technique that helps you to tap into that inner child, that inner broken, sad, made to feel bad, very needy, needs something, needs love, needs discipline, needs all these needs, right? You didn't get them. And so now that inner kid, or those versions of you who are wounded and broken, are basically running your life in many aspects. They could run your life at times in business. They could run your life in times in relationships. They could run your life in interfamily dynamics. It's like intense. So the more we connect with this inner child, or even better said, our past wounded parts of ourselves that were never really healed and handled, the more we do that, the more self-loving we become, the more emotionally self-reliant we become, and the less likely we are to tolerate bullshit from assholes. Better said, a target for narcissists and a target for toxic people. We won't tolerate being treated poorly. We just won't, because we become self-loving. We know how to soothe ourselves, and we don't stick around in relationships that are not nourishing us and that are not helping us grow any longer, or that are even toxic and abusive and dysfunctional. So this book, I'll flash it to you again, Inner Bonding. Score this sucker on Amazon.com. Learn how to connect with your inner child, and head on over to LoveQuestCoaching.com. Click the box that says free guides, and they're just audio download guides that I recorded. One that deals with inner child work is myself. The No Bullshit Guide to Self-Love. So there are all a bunch of different no bullshit guides there. You can help yourself to as many as you want. They're all free. I created them to help people like who come to my website and whatever. And, I think you have to put in your email address so that they can send you the download. But it's awesome. And it's, I think, like 25 minutes long. But the gist of this whole inner child thing, and why it's so important, is because we have so many different things that happen to us in our lives, different traumas, different things, people that we've been in relationships with, family things that have happened, things that we have witnessed, things that happened to us when we were little kids. And we have those wounds still with us. We're like carrying around a backpack as we trudge up the mountain of life with this heavy load on us. And so when we do this type of work, it unpacks the bag, and so we're free, and we're like, well, like, life isn't so difficult now. I can climb the mountain. I could get to the top. This is fantastic. So what do you do with the inner child work? Okay, so here's what it entails, and I'll share what my own personal experience was with it in 2015. So for me, my first inner child, this first way that I connected to the inner broken parts of me, and there are many, but I started with just even familiarizing myself with this. I had no idea what this even was. And I was like, okay, so I have this thing about me where if I'm not in a relationship, I don't know who I am. I get completely blurred into the other person. It's like, who am I if I'm not with somebody loving me just the way I need them to be loved? And that way can change at any moment in time, but they have to be there for me. So I didn't have the ability to do that for myself. And so because of that, it causes you to be very needy, super clingy, anxious even if you're not in communication with this person. You also develop this very heightened ability to read vibe, to read I remember seeing a guy that I was dating for a while, and he like made an expression with his eyebrows, and I was like, are you okay? Something's not right. You're not right. What's wrong with you? Like, what's the deal? You're going to break up with me. Like, really, it was like very, you get so hypersensitive to other people's facial expressions and mood, and even like the way they breathe. And it's rooted in how you were raised as little. And your inner child is craving safety and security and love. It's keep me safe and love me is what they're governed by. And let me shine. Let me be true to the sparkly, unique, beautiful little soul that popped into the earth and was like, what's up? I'm here. And then society glommed on and was like, don't scream, don't do this, don't do that. This is how we sit and eat at a table. This is what we do. And you're just like, whoa, this is like a lot to take in. I'm 4. Like, I don't, and that traumatizes us. And so we live our whole lives trying to soothe like the things that happen between, 0 and age 11. So these things are real and they live within us. I worked hard as hell to get to the root of my codependency so I can transform it and transmute it, integrate it, and be done with it. It is an ongoing thing, but because I know these tools and because I have done this work, I am able now to show up in relationships differently. I'm able to say, this is a need for my inner child. So I am in a relationship right now, and let's say, hypothetically, we're arguing or there's something that I want and I am asking it, but not as grown-ass 48-year-old woman. I am asking it through the feelings of my inner 6-year-old or my inner 11-year-old or my inner 22-year-old. So I take the inner bonding process to another level in that I believe that it could be used also to soothe adult traumas. So the inner child thing, totally valid, 100% needs to be handled, absolutely. But then there are other traumas that happen later in life. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a girl, beautiful girl, very well-adjusted family, had a brother, she was sister, perfect family. Like parents her well, she did great in school. They lived, Chicago suburbs, very like cookie cutter, really nice middle America life, right? Sure, things happened, but they were very supportive, very close knit. This girl felt totally loved, amazing. And because of the way she was raised, she had a value that she would remain a virgin until marriage. Regardless of whether she was able to stick with it at the age of 18, 19, when she was away at college, this was how she felt. It was a value of hers and she cherished it. And off to college she goes, happy adjusted life, parents love her, la la la, minding her own business, boop ba doop, walking home from library, and she gets attacked and she gets sexually assaulted and her virginity is robbed from her. So she's 19. She's not baby girl, she's 19. And so this traumatic thing happens, and for whatever reason, perhaps she believes her family is this perfect family, and now she's tarnishing. She will be a blemish on this image that her perfect family has. So she keeps it a secret. She goes to, the school nurse. She gets it handled very on her own, but she's alone in this massive trauma that happened in her life. And so what turns up for this? One, there's shame, right? So she's feeling a sense of shame, a sense of, I can't tell my parents this. Like, we have this perfect community. Like, we're perfect in the community. Like, they're going to be like, oh my God, did you hear her daughter got raped at college? And this big scandal. And I don't want that. I don't want to be known as, rapey chick. Like, I don't want to have that stigma. I'm just going to be quiet about it, and like in time when maybe I'll mention it and whatever. So imagine you're 19, this disaster thing happens, and you're in your trauma, you fail out of school, you sink into a depression, you're a full-on disaster, you're just like, my life is slipping away, no one is here to take care of me and whatever. And so you also, number two, so first was shame. The second thing becomes this sense of being completely out of control in your own life. And in that kind of trauma, and many people have traumas that conjure up this desire to control everything and everyone, to establish a sense of safety in the world. When you're dealing with a controlling person, if you have a controlling person in your life, or if ever you've been controlling, whether you're a boss of a bunch of people and you're very micromanagey, this is rooted in fear. Anytime you're trying to control circumstances outside you, you're rooted in fear. And so that means that there was a trauma somewhere in your past that happened that conjured up a fight or flight, fear. I need to control my surroundings. I need to control other people in order to feel safe, protected, loved, all is okay in my world. And you'd have no idea why you're doing it. And so many people live this way. So many people live super hyper conditional lives because they have to control everything. And it is exhausting. And you don't know why. You're lashing out at traffic. You're lashing out at the postman guy who didn't bring your mail the right way. And there's this anger rooted in fear of this need to control everything, and you cannot. And so then that leads to frustration, which gets you angry. So this is the thread that happens when we don't show up to heal these broken, wounded parts of who we are, right? So this book, there are other modalities, other books too. I mean, there are plenty of people, thank you, okay, love that, who teach this stuff. And I am a coach who absolutely use this modality on myself, and it's wonderful for relationships, any kind of conflicts that you have with any kind of interpersonal relationships where you're in this like control kind of vibe, or fear of people leaving you, fear of abandonment, fear of not enoughness, having to control your husband because every day he goes off to work, and it might be an environment where he can meet other women, and you're so insecure about it that you're like texting him constantly, and you expect him to text you, and if you don't have touch base throughout the day, you literally feel yourself anxious and just going out of your mind, and you sink into a depression, and you talk shit to yourself, and you think the worst, and it's awful. This is the type of work that I do for people like that. For people who are suffering in that way, this is the stuff that I do to help them. And I escort them through this process. It involves getting very quiet and centered and tapping into your breathing and being like just really still with yourself and asking certain questions, which I then guide them through. And they then can conjure up this wounded part of themselves. And typically, when I'm speaking to people and we're in a session, they'll tell me what their problem is, and I'll ask a series of questions that helps them drill it down to a moment or a few moments in their life that could potentially be the match lit for that particular problem. So it could be anything from childhood to teenage years to something that happened 2 years ago. It could be anything that they were wounded by on an emotional level. And so that's why I feel like there's inner trauma, inner child work, which is amazing, and that deals with the little kid version of you, perfect. But then there are other traumas that happen, like this girl, 19 years old. So what you do then is, and again, like delicate work, the idea here is to show up for that version of yourself and blast it with love and blast it with compassion and kindness. And sometimes just like let it be angry and lash out and let it be heard and let them have the platform to express. And to get to that version of you, though, is a process. I mean, it's not something that can just be turned on and turned off. Like, there's a way of learning how to do it. And this book helped me how. I did additional, obviously, work on that even when reading the book, but it is good. And you know, it at least will get you started addressing these old wounds. And, you know, if you have patterns with your career, if you find that the same type of situation happens at your job, the same type of people, the same type of psycho boss, the same type of people who are working for you that are just like incompetent or defiant, that's how it manifests in the workplace. And then you end up losing your job in the same way over and over. You have like this pattern or patterns in relationships. Jessica, so the name of the book is Inner Bonding. It's by Dr. Margaret Paul. I'll keep it held up so you can write down her name. See, Dr. Margaret Paul, Inner Bonding. And if you go on YouTube and Google, YouTube, Dr. Margaret Paul, Inner Bonding, you will find there for free a full hour, I think it's like an hour and 10 minutes seminar talk that she gave about this process, how she created it, the whole jam. And it's fascinating and very relatable, because she talks and goes really, really into her own traumas as a little girl. And I was like, oh my God, this lady, like, I totally get where she was coming from. And interesting trivia. Remember, I don't know how many people watching remember Alanis Morissette from the 90s, the amazing album Jagged Little Pill, which was created in response to a breakup. It was inspired by a breakup with the dude from Full House. Yeah. Anyway, Alanis Morissette, also did the inner bonding process to heal from her past wounds too. So there is a celebrity connection to this if you want to know. But anyway, it's a fabulous process, and you can check that whole thing out for free. And then again, I have my no bullshit guide to self-love audio for free, available at lovequestcoaching.com, my website. You click on the little box that says free guides, and I have several audio guides there for free that you can help yourself to. And they're like 20 minutes, and they're based on books and different modalities that I did on my own. And I just go through and explain on an audio, because who the hell reads anymore? So yeah, you can totally get this sucker on audio. But, you know, it's good to have the written too, and a notebook, because in it, like diagrams and stuff, she does a lot of role play with patients. Like, it's just amazing. And here was the coolest thing about it for me. So you know how, like, in life we go through shit and then we end up blaming our parents. Oh, it's because I was raised this way, my parents got divorced, this and that. So, and also other people in your life, you play the blame game. This book, oh my God, it makes you almost have like this whole newfound compassion for your parents, for your bosses, for your people, like everybody. You start to see people as little kids, like all these wounded little kids, and they're all just trying to work out their shit. And you start to see people so differently. And when like somebody comes at you in a certain way and they trigger something in you, you're just like, why do you suffer? Like, you're yelling at me because you're suffering. Like, what's wrong with you? How did you get wounded? You know, this isn't like normal people. Adults aren't meant to behave this way. We're all genuinely love at the core. That's who the truest form of who we are. Love. All of us. Even the evil people who do us wrong. All love at the core. So when people are doing stuff wrong and projecting and being mean and abusive, it's because they don't believe that they're good and worthy and whole and complete. And they're definitely battling within themselves as well. So I hope that this helped you. If you feel like you resonated with any of this and it was like, oh my gosh, speaking to my soul, like I was definitely told to shut up and stop crying, and you know, I was in a family where I was just independent and kind of left on my own, and I felt like furniture and nobody really paid attention to me, yet they always wanted me there, but they never really interacted with me. And I kind of felt like, what's the point of me being here? If those are kinds of things, and you see patterns in your relationships, things that happen over and over, beliefs that you have in your head that are playing on a loop, it's all because there's stuff in you that you have the opportunity to finally heal, love up on. Just kind of think of it like your house is this beautiful mansion, right? You, your soul, your mind, you're this beautiful mansion. And you walk in this mansion and you're looking around, you're inspecting every room, and oops, look over there, there's a dead fly. Oh, we have to remove the dead fly. We don't need the dead fly in the house. Let's take out the fly. And then you go to the next room and it's like, oh, look, something spilled on the floor. We need to clean that. So that's what this is. It's the inner work where you are literally going through the mansion of your soul, and you're looking through, and you're always going to discover new things to clean up. So this is the work I do for people. We have a good time doing it. I mean, yeah, you might cry, and yeah, you might get pissed off, but I hold space like a mofo, and I got you, and it's a beautiful process. Every one of my clients who went through this inner bonding work and are continuing to go through it, because it never ends, feel that it's such an important tool. It changes the relationships with their family at the adult level. It puts boundaries that they never had before. They finally start showing up for themselves and sticking up for themselves and parenting those inner children and those other versions of ourselves that get hurt. So they start to heal them and show up for them. And then when we show up for ourselves, then we're not ruled and intimidated, threatened, made to feel insecure or not enough from anyone else, because we're able to show up for ourselves. And when we do that, we become empowered, and we become so much better in our own relationships, and so much more compassionate and understanding and solutions focused and forward moving. And so that's what we want. And that's my contribution to the planet. I want to see people happy and healthy and whole. And if I can help out in any way, absolutely count on me, and send me a PM and we'll get started on a phone call or whatever. We'll figure it out, but I'm here to help. Thanks so much, you guys. Much love. Until tomorrow, I'll be bringing you another Facebook Live. Thanks so much. Bye.